And joining us now, the former U.S. Treasury Secretary, Larry Summers. Mr. Secretary, thanks so much for joining us just ahead of tomorrow's expected interest rate hike by the Federal Reserve. You say, and I'm quoting you now, there is a growing chorus that the Fed should pause very soon for fear they will throw the economy into recession. I believe this advice is badly misguided, close quote. Why aren't you afraid that the Fed could do more harm than good?
Because I think with interest rates at 3%, perhaps going to 3.75%, and core inflation still at 7%, the much greater risk is of not doing enough. Because I look at economic history and I see there are many times when the Fed didn't do enough and so inflation reaccelerated, and that I can't find any times in the last 60 years of American economic history when the Fed did too much. Because the Fed's got a goal, they've been very explicit about it, 2% inflation. And even if there is something of a downturn or a recession, I don't see any reason to think that there's any real prospect without a lot more Fed action that they're going to push inflation durably below 2%.
So how high will interest rates have to go, Mr. Secretary, in order to bring down inflation?
Right now, markets are making a judgment that it's going to be 5. In order to validate that judgment, the Fed would have to do that. If the Fed backed off that, it would, in a sense, be an easing of policy. I think that they should leave it open and vague until we get more data, which we will over the next few months. My best guess, but it's not a confident best guess, is that rates will have to go somewhat above 5, perhaps 5.50, something like that, if we're going to have a significant prospect of really restoring inflation to the target level that the Fed has said it's committed to.
You also say, Mr. Secretary, it's substantially more likely than not that we will have a recession next year here in the United States. What can Americans do in these coming months to prepare themselves financially for this?
I think this is a moment to borrow longer term rather than shorter term. It's a moment to recognize that, there may be some more difficult times ahead. So not to maximize one's borrowing capacity. It's probably not a great moment for substantial risk-taking. Those would be the kinds of things that I think people should be thinking about. I think it's a good moment to be holding on to the assets that one has.
Today, you actually criticized President Biden for suggesting a windfall tax on big oil companies' profits, saying this would accomplish the opposite of President Biden's objective. If that tax were implemented, Mr. Secretary, is the fear that it would backfire potentially on American consumers?
I think the fear is that if we establish that whenever the price of oil went up substantially, we were going to impose windfall profits taxes, the incentive in being able to drill for oil would be diminished, because you wouldn't feel like when the best case for you happened and your oil was really needed, you wouldn't feel like you could reap the full reward of it. So I think it would discourage investment in oil, which would ultimately mean higher oil prices. I also think that I think that's the important effect. I think there's a secondary effect that if you reduce the cash flow of those businesses, less cash flow in is probably going to mean less investment out. But I think the important thing is that anytime you tax something or signal that you're going to tax something in the future, you discourage people's incentive to produce it. And I think we're just working our way out of the problems that were created, some of the problems that were created by an excess of hostility to hydrocarbons a couple of years ago. And if there hadn't been that excess hostility, we'd probably have some more hydrocarbons today. and now we're taking another hostile to hydrocarbons act. I just don't think it's the right thing to do, given the magnitude of the energy challenges that we have again, though I certainly share the frustration that there are not more hydrocarbons being produced in the United States. And I think that's a proper area for dialogue with the federal government, but I suspect a certain amount of it has to do with permitting and regulation, and I really don't see how the windfall profits tax would help.
Larry Summers, the former Treasury Secretary, thanks so much for joining us.
Good to be with you, Wolf.